couple weeks ago at GDC, I got to go check out 10 Chambers' new game called Den of Wolves. If you remember at Game Awards last year, you got a chance to see them debut this game not only on stage, but in one of the most fancy ways possible in a huge drone show that I got a chance to go check out from my hotel window down in LA, and was bugging out when I got a chance to see all of this madness happen in real time. So if you're familiar with their games in PAYDAY and GTFO, you understand that they are doing and are masters of the heist game. And now they have a new version of that, but in this dystopian world where you're not only working cooperatively with friends to go and get the loot and go run out and explore, but also in a way where you're not only getting money, but you're also getting memories in what is called the dive, in this new mechanic that is being brought to this game. So I got a chance to go talk to two of the developers and two of the folks on the team from 10 Chambers to talk about not only what this new game is bringing to the market, but also some of the philosophies behind how they're bringing this new mechanic into their game. So here's our interview with the team, and when we come back, I'll give you a little bit of info on my time playing the game and some impressions from that experience. So here's our interview. Enjoy it. We'll be right back after this. What's good, everybody? We are here hanging out with our friends from 10 Chambers, talking about my time with Den of Wolves. Gents, how are you both doing? And please introduce yourselves.
We're both doing good. I think I can speak for Robin as well. My name is Simon Vickland. I am a co-founder of 10 Chambers, one of several founders, and I am the audio director and the composer for Den of Wolves.
And I'm Robin Björkel, and I'm the communications director for 10 Chambers.
Awesome. So I just got a chance to play through one of my kind of most highly anticipated games. I've been very excited at the prospect of checking the game out, and especially because of the ridiculously cool drone show that I got a chance to see during the Game Awards last year. I mean, I know that there's a ton of things that go into the process of making something like that happen, but what in the hell, how in the hell did you guys come up with that as a way to kind of first, give Den of the Wolves to the world?
Yeah, great question. It was so crazy, so I barely don't remember because we thought it was going to be a much smaller project to do a drone show than it proved to be. We're kind of like, oh, how hard can it be, right?
Yeah.
But it turns out it's very hard, and you actually had to you model the drone show in 3D in like a.
Huh.
So we actually used the 3D artists that work too, so they had to do the drone show design as well. But why we had the idea was when we do these beats like at TJ's, for example, and for a relatively small studio, but we're 100 people, so not small, but let's say mid-size. It's a big investment for us to do something at TGA, so we kind of need to, when we do those beats, we need to do as much possible around it as possible, because TJ's is, it's like 60 trailers or something showing, you need to stand out in some way. So I think that's, we needed a way to stand out. And there was a drone show this time. I don't know if we'll do it again because it was a crazy experience.
I asked myself, how are we going to top this? Because we're not even launching the game. It's just sort of like our first gameplay trailer. So once we're actually launching the game, we have to have like John Cena, skydiving. I don't know, like it has to be, Tom Cruise in there or something, like, because I don't know how to top it really.
Yeah.
I mean, it was fantastic. I mean, it was a driver for me when I saw the appointment for
That's cool.
to be able to come see you all, and first drone QR code that I was able to scan, and it worked, and I was like, that was rad. I mean, it's a go big or go home moment, which I thought really came across really well. So congratulations to that, because that was really much. Cool.
Thank you.
Tell the folks at home a little bit about Den of Wolves, because I think it's a game that people have been really excited about, but there hasn't been a ton of info out. So give them the kind of synopsis of what this game is.
I guess the elevator pitch is Payday in the future, but it's more than that. We're really, it's a heist game. It takes place in the future, and you take on jobs from corporations in a city run by corporations, with story beats being taken from, late stage capitalism and heists, I guess, from popular culture. So if you want to be Robert De Niro in Heat, you know, then you want to play Dylan Wolves. You get to really be the mastermind who hatches the plan and executes it, you know, in this game. And the sci-fi elements allows us to be so creative with like types of enemies, types of weapons you have, gadgets, scenarios, and the dive is the biggest thing in the scenarios, I think, that really sort of blows the lid off and allows us to do some really crazy things in the game.
Yeah, I mean the sci-fi element, as soon as you start to talk about AI and cyber terrorism and kind of, you know, messing around with people's minds in those spaces, that automatically gets me really excited. What were some of the conversations around, you know, you'd gone from a very grounded space in Payday and then kind of moved to kind of a more... I think of that game as like so much, like Heat is such a favorite movie of mine, and when I think of playing Payday, it's immediately those connections are there.
There's like robbers with RPGs, you know. It's like, would they really have that?
I mean, I grew up in the Bronx. We have, you know,
they go hard.
It depends on the day. But I love the kind of lineage of what 10 Chambers has been doing. You know, Payday and Payday 2, and then kind of moving into GTFO, which is moving into kind of more, you know, I'm not going to say paranormal spaces, but kind of more, you know, horror-esque spaces for a game that was extremely hard and super hard. I'm still trying to find friends to play it, but they're punks. And now Den of Wolves is digging into a much...
Calling you out.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, all of you are pains in the asses and punks. But now moving into the space with Den of Wolves and having this scenario and these multiple scenarios and story beats kind of play alongside, you know, this 4-player co-op game. How are you all thinking about narrative, and how are you thinking about building the world for players in that space too? Because, you know, from the conversations we had initially about the kind of mini dive that you gave us, that got me really excited to be like, oh, I want to know more about this world while I'm playing. How are you thinking about delivering that for players in the game?
Yeah, story building is super important in any game, and we know that, and we're working really hard for Den of Wolves to have that, you know, because it really makes you, you know, as a player, subconsciously think that there's a world outside of the confines of the map that you're running around. Like outside of those walls, there's a world and things are going on, you know. Characters have motivation, and, you know, they have plans, and you're foiling them or whatever. Like, it's important to wrap everything so it's in some narrative, so that it's not just sort of like running to the end and shooting people along the way, you know. It needs to have some oomph to it or it gets more oomph thanks to narrative, you know. So that's super important. Even though we're not making an open world game, we're spending a lot of resources and a lot of time creating a world with like corporations, with logos and backstories and CEOs who runs this company, what companies are their competition, you know, when was it founded, how long they've been around in Midway City and everything. And really trying to create a world that feels like it's living even as you shut the game down. And we're thinking in the future when we're releasing new, sort of like introducing a new enemy, that would not be like us as game creators contacting, you know, people with if it was like an ad or an email or whatever to the community. It wouldn't be like, oh, here's the new enemy in the game. It would be more like role played as like, oh, this is the new prototype from this private, you know, security company. It's the new model of their, you know, security droid, whatever, this and that, and then it's like rolled out in the city, in the game, you know, and as you know, find new, I don't know what it could be, like weapons or whatever, you get new stuff, or you get hired by a company, you would be, oh, I recognize the logo from this weapon, or oh, this company that hired us, that's the company I've seen in the game for 6 months. Like on billboards in the background. So it's actually, we're not making stuff up as we go. We're creating this world, this huge library of characters and corporations and content that we can draw from, and then the world feels more like it's actually connected, and it's a thick weave of information rather than just sort of like making it up as we go, and then it feels sort of like barely held together, you know.
Yeah.
So we spent a lot of effort with the storytelling and the world building.
Yeah, it comes across too. Like, you know, we did the kind of prep mission in our gameplay session, and then kind of the fuller heist.
Yeah.
And just hearing the VO of the character talking you through when you're walking through the spaces, and you know, them literally just talking shit about not only you but the people who you're kind of working for, felt really cool to be able to say, oh, this is how they're going to deliver a story in this game, and talk about the world while they're doing it.
You're late. Lucky I didn't get antsy and come find you myself. Relax, hotshot. You got my schematics?
Yeah.
Good. Then come on through. Welcome to our little piece of paradise. You'd think a bank held by keep would be harder to get through. Huh. They really set the runs of the litter to guard this place. Anyway, fuck 'em. The bank is ours now. Take a ride up here.
You know, what parts did you kind of learn, or what kind of layers did you learn about kind of adding that to this game that came from your time with making Payday and GTFO? What were some takeaways from those that really informed where you're going now?
Anyone making a multiplayer game and wanting to have a story in it, or playing game development on Legendary, because it's freaking hard.
Yeah.
You know, it's so much easier when it's a single player game. But, you know, for 4 people to get along and like experience a story together, it's just so, you know, one person is interested in the story and the other 3 are not, and they're like reading up on like logs and emails on some terminal in GTFO, while the others are like standing by the door like, come on, let's move, we need to kill some monsters, you know. So it creates a friction within the team potentially, you know. So that's something we learned from GTFO. For Payday, I don't know what they did for Payday 3. I haven't worked on that game, but for Payday 2, the story is really told through like trailers and live action, you know, YouTube content more than in the game. You can't really follow the story, I think, unless you watch those things, you know. And that's how you get to know the characters and so on. So for Den of Wolves, we want to do something different where it's, well, your character is not a predetermined person with a backstory and everything, like in GTF or Payday for that matter. It's more of an avatar, you know, the way you would create a character in say, Destiny, you know, where it's like you're sort of not a voiceless, but like a protagonist of few words, and it's not about you, really. You can project your own ideas of who you are and what the backstory is and why you're in Midway City trying to make money, you know. But it's really allowing the players to sit front row in this spectacle of like greedy, shitty people. It's like Succession, you know.
Yeah.
You get insight into these greedy, you know, corporate representatives, CEOs, founders, board members, you know, everyone, and they have their fixers who in turn contact you, and you're hired to do their dirty work, you know. So it becomes a really interesting sort of, I guess, Greek tragedy of their downfall, you know, hopefully. But you're not there to sort of like bring down the corporations. I want to point that out. You're not there to sort of save the world from what they're doing. You get your hands dirty and you got blood in your hands, really. But it's like, it's an interesting, you're an interesting character because you get to see the backside of the facade that they're, you know, sort of holding up to the public, really. Yeah. But yeah, the story is sometimes told in the heists, but heists are a minuscule part of, I wouldn't say minuscule, but it's a smaller part than what you would experience today when you played on the 2 missions. One was a prep mission and one was a heist. If you played a storyline in Den of Wolves, it would be a lot more prep missions, and then you play the heist at the end. So you wouldn't have that sort of the walking part where you eavesdrop on people and you hear news reports sort of talking about stuff you've done, you know, like that being a consequence of your choices throughout the storyline. that wouldn't happen too often. That happens more like at the during the heists. A lot of the story is told in the storyline interface, which is like the menu where you choose your next mission to take on. And I want to point that out. It's up to you as a player. It's really important in Den of Wolves it's important for us to have allow for player agency, and for the player to feel like they're the ones calling the shots. In previous games, and I would say Payday as well, it feels a little bit like you're doing someone else's job. Like the plan's already, created by someone else, and you're just sort of given a laundry list of things to do. For Den of Wolves, we really want the person on the radio to feel like you're their boss. They're just sort of helping out, and they're hoping for a piece of the pie. It's not their plan. So that the player gets to feel like Robert De Niro in Heat, like the person both hatching the plan and executing it. So in that storyline interface, you would be like choosing, like, let's take on this mission. We need to find someone who's defected from the company, whatever. We have these three. As soon as you go for one of them, maybe the other two go underground. You can't find them anymore, So it's like an interactive, it's a little bit of angst, like which one do we, if we attack this laboratory where they have a prototype for this thing that we're looking for, that will alert the guards and that company. So every other place we visit after that is owned by the same company, they will have higher security. So it's like things matter. You choose things, you choose missions, and it will have a ripple effect. Your choice will have a ripple effect than in the first-person shooter part of it. Yeah. But we want the first-person shooter part to be streamlined and have not. You shouldn't be like, oh, here's a 90-second elevator ride where you're given a lot of exposition.
Sure.
That's not the storytelling we want to do. Or like cutscenes would be even worse because you're taking the control away from the player. But we're trying to be smart and allow the players to sort of make the story a little bit and be involved, and consuming the content with like messages from clients and stuff like that on their own time outside of the first-person shooter experience. And in this first-person shooter experience during a mission, it's all about the mission. It's not reading logs and stuff like that. It's about completing the heist, or the prep mission at hand. And that's, I think, one of the important aspects of where we've polished sort of the formula of first-person co-op heist games.
Yeah, I mean, that's even more exciting because I think for me, I'm a person who loves anti-heroes and loves stories where not only are the things that you're doing in terms of the kind of gameplay elements affecting further things down the line, but also I like when options are taken away from you. To a certain extent, not taken away, but like changed in a way that you would kind of interact with them. And hearing that you talked about, you do this one job over here, and then consequences are coming to you from other layers of the gameplay loop. Yeah. That's really cool to be able to hear how you're thinking about that, because I'm a person who's like, oh, now we have to really discuss in our team which avenue we're going to go to make sure that we're trying to seeing exactly what we all want to see. So that's awesome. I love to hear that. That's fantastic. One of the parts that I thought was really interesting was, as a person who's a big competitive player, I love hardcore games. I love stuff where you have to like really coordinate with people. I was talking to my team after we had finished our run. And you talked about your prep run, where you're prepping mission to get things together. So you're getting your weapons and guns and gadgets together before you go in. And then the heist layer of it, which I want to talk about the dive in a second. But we had finished our run, we had gone through it, and then we were talking about, timing for things. I'm saying, like, if you wanted to just do a prep mission during your gameplay session for a day, like you come home from work, you go do a prep mission with your friends. And that can just be the first part of what you do. It doesn't have to be both scenarios at the same time of, if you have a small amount of time, doing the prep first and then, logging off for the night, then doing the heist mission afterwards. I thought that was a brilliant way to think about people's time. Because, I think one of the biggest things as a player who's a little bit older is like, I want you to respect my time as a player. And talk to me a little bit about the thought process of, being able to break that up into multiple sessions and saying, for folks who may not have a full time to raid or to run, we will give you that option to kind of just do these missions first and then later on jump into the bigger heist. Talk to me a little bit about the gameplay designs of thinking about it in those ways.
Yeah, the theme just lends itself to that sort of design. Obviously, with you need to prep for gather the intel, threaten someone, bribe someone, steal information from someone, finding out when the changing of the guard happens at the place that you're going to break into, whatever it might be. Where's the weakest spot for the explosives? Finding the explosives, drones, whatever information you can find, tapping into their communications or surveillance system, finding out what's the model for the door, for the vault door, whatever, stuff like that, And it, much like storytelling, it makes everything so much interesting, so much more interesting, because it's like you know about the place now, and it's like building up what do you call it? Not a myth, like a legend or something. It's like building it up. It becomes much more important. And once you get to do the heist, it feels like the stakes are higher and it matters more. And you know about this place because you sort of, fantasized about it or thought about it and invested all this time really, prepping for this thing. So it's a fantastic sort of just from a narrative standpoint and from a dramatic standpoint of building up to something rather than just sort of let's just do the bank right away, Obviously, the prep missions could be like banks too, but they have a purpose, where you collect some sort of a plot device, I guess, in order to complete the heist at the end. But then also it serves very well, apart from the narrative and the dramatic purpose of it, it serves the purpose that you mentioned, players can play maybe, snack-sized missions in the week, and then on Saturday night, maybe they have more time, and that's when they play the heist at the end. So you can make those plans with your friends to play, let's play the prep missions during the nights in the weekdays, and then during the weekend, Friday or Saturday, you play the heist, and it just sort of, I don't know, it's a clever.
Yeah, I mean, it's really smart. I mean, it was a thing that as soon as we kind of talked through it, I was like, oh, that makes so much sense in terms of being able to have those moments when you're like, oh, all right, everybody, we're actually going to do this now. We need to kind of really pay attention and if we're going to do this, we're prepping it, we're getting everything together, and now whenever we have time to do this, we're going to actually jump in and play and do that stuff. I just found that to be very refreshing in terms of the way you're all thinking about that and being very smart about and clever about how you're thinking about why the motivation is there to do that.
It's one of the many things where we look at the formula of heist first-person shooter co-op games and where can we improve it even more.
Yeah, I want to talk about the dive, because the dive part as a kind of end goal in some of the heist missions, is that a part of every heist mission, the dive? Is that
not necessarily? No.
Okay, explain to folks who don't know about the dive yet what that is.
So, Den of Wolves takes place in Midway City, which is an innovation zone, an unregulated innovation zone, meaning that it's essentially a country run by, or a state at least, run by corporations. They make their own rules. They've developed a new type of security technology because of rampant AI assisted hacking throughout the coming maybe 20 years. They've created a new technology that AI can't navigate, a new type of data transmission and storage technology based on a neural network. So it's essentially human brain parts, but criminals have found a way to penetrate those networks as well and hack and retrieve information from them. But it can't be done by an AI. A human needs to, or a group of humans need to connect to this thing in order to break inside. So in Den of Wolves, you can dive on a live human and find information about them. information that they know, or like passwords that they know, or like prototype information that they know, or where something's hidden, whatever it might be. Or you can dive into more of a device that would, I guess, contain a piece of brain tissue or something like that, and that's only kept alive in order you would hack that, and then that will unlock a physical lock in the real world, you know. And as you go into dive, essentially, it's like another reality. It's not a virtual reality because it's not digital. It's a memory or a dream or something planted maybe in this brain that serves as a, what do you call it, like a security measure, you know. So we've taken inspiration from Inception, obviously, and The Matrix, but there's other concepts going way back, you know, with that sort of stuff where what's a simulation, what's real world, the real world, you know, in science fiction, you know. So a dive can be anything, really. It's something that forces you as players to take on some sort of a challenge. The idea for Den of Wolves is to use it to break off from whatever's happening in the real world in terms of theme, or in terms of tempo, I guess, or in intensity would be the right word, and throw the player into something different just for a change of pace, a change of location, change of, you know, sort of gameplay, really. So we can lean into other genres a little bit. You can be like in a stealth scenario in the real world, and then you dive, and then you come to like a full-on shootout, you know. And it could be like one shot, one kill, different rules in that space, you know. So you're like a little bit like taking, you know, like the rules are different here, but it's not high stakes in the sense that if you fail there, you don't fail the entire heist. You're just thrown back into the real world. So it becomes this little, you know, this small challenge where it's like, find out what the rules are and what you need to do to complete the heist, and then, or the dive, and then you attempt several times and you go in and try to complete it. What you played today was a parkour sort of platforming thing. Yeah. But it could be a shooter with like one shot, one kill rules, or it could be like you're in the real world. There's a firefight and a grenade explosion throws bodies in the air, and then you go into a dive in the middle of that. And time freezes, you know, and you go into a dive that's more like a creepy forest, and you're tracked by some monster or something, or there's a sentinel that's chasing you through a maze, and you need to find the end of it or whatever. It could be like,
so setting can also change.
Yeah. It could be like a dream, or it could feel like a real place. Like what you saw today felt very abstract with platforms floating in space and stuff. But it could be lots of different things, you know. Whatever we come up with that feels like it serves the purpose of, you know, exciting the players and presenting a cool challenge for the players, while we as developers feel confidence in that we can deliver on that. Yeah. We can create that little snack-sized thing. Because if it's like, you're hunted by ninjas in a Japanese temple, whatever. We don't need to create all of Japan or a city of Japan. We can just create the temple, and that's it. And with sound design and music, we sort of set the tone, and you get the feel, because you're not spending too much time in that space, you know. So it's interesting for us as game developers as well, because it allows us to just sort of whatever we come up with, we can just, it's not a huge commitment to create this little thing, you know. So it can be anything. And then when you come back to the real world, those bodies that were thrown by the grenade would be like, continue flying, you know. So we have the technology to freeze time in one iteration of, or like one version of reality, and then start a new reality, really. And we can have dives within dives, and like that's what's nice with being, you know, the masters of our own IP. Like we don't have to follow the rules of an existing IP. We cannot make up the rules ourselves, really, whatever feels exciting, you know. So you can spend 60 seconds, like there was a time limit on the dive today, and it was more like a rush to get to the end before the time runs out. But it could be like, you could spend half an hour in a dive, like if it's a scenario that it's exciting for half an hour, you know.
I love the way you just talked about that, and excited for that, because that opens up so many avenues to get real freaky and wild with some stuff in terms of design. And also it was really cool to be able to kind of, you know, think about when we were going into those dives. And we were in the middle of firefights, and then you were like, do we still want to kind of try to get more stuff out of the vault? Or do we still kind of want to kind of push and wait for the dive to happen? and we had to change plans in the middle of the fight because we were like, we're getting rushed. We think we can go to another spot in the map and potentially get some more loot, and then the dive happened and it pulled you out, and then it pulled you into the other scenario, and then you had to come back. I love stuff like that. That was
making it streamlined like that you don't have to like hunker up in a group.
Right.
Like you can be anywhere, you can take cover in your own space and shoot at enemies and whatnot, and then there's a countdown. The person on the radio is like 3, 2, 1, and wherever you are, you're like, you go into this other place. That was important to us that it didn't require players to be together.
Yeah.
Like because then there's frustration. Like come over here in order to start it, But it's doesn't matter where you are. You just pulled in.
For scenarios like the dive, and got a couple more questions because I don't want to keep you all day. One of the things that came out of the session and asked the team was, I think one of the best parts of games like this is kind of that emergent loop, right? The gameplay loop of you going in and prepping, going into a heist, coming out with some loot, and then potentially finding new things to be able to help you execute new heists in a better and kind of not easier way.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes it's just the reward is a plot device that's basically a key to unlock another mission. Not like if you find a drone, you wouldn't necessarily be able to now I have this drone that we can throw out in the first person shooter experience whenever, and it will shoot people and stuff.
Yeah.
But the drone is this thing that you need for the heist, and it just unlocks a way to play the heist,
Okay.
But you would also be able to find resources like that are more like consumables that you can use in the first-person shooter. Now we got this droid, with spider droid or whatever, and I can, it will make this, it's a one-off thing.
Yeah.
Because we're struggling with this one mission. So we played this other mission to acquire the droid, and now that sort of offsets the difficulty a little bit.
Yeah.
For the other mission. So you can find resources that you can use as well, and then the sci-fi concept in Den of Wolves obviously allows us to come up with crazy sorts of gadgets and stuff that
I like that a ton because then that differentiates the idea and removes that idea from the community to say like, well, is this also an extraction shooter, right? Because it's not in that way, which is great because then you get a chance to define that.
Jumping on trends, really.
Yeah. I mean, but I like that. The way that you're thinking about that, it makes it easy for all of you to message that out to players and figure that stuff out. I'd love to hear from you about kind of how you're thinking about community's going to come to this game. I think, you have a lineage of a couple of games that are already in the mix that have pretty big player bases and a lot of folks who are very invested in those spaces. What's the kind of hook that you want for community to kind of come to this game and really be excited for it?
Well, it's the track record. I think like people know several of the founders of our company, myself included, worked on some beloved first-person shooter co-op games. 2 of them were even heist games, Payday the Heist and Payday 2. And with GTFO, together with those games, we have, it started even back in 2005, actually. Ulf and I and a few other of the founders actually worked on Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter, which had a co-op.
That game.
Co-op, even before Left 4 Dead. We're not saying we invented that genre, obviously, but Left 4 Dead was the one that really like 4-player co-op PvE, so they created that, but it's our wheelhouse, we feel like that's our realm, so people should be excited for whatever we're working on. I think if you like first-person shooters in general and first-person shooter co-op games in particular, and add heist on top of that, if you're into heists, then Den of Wolves has all of that, and we'd like to think that we're taking steps here to evolve that concept and polish it and making it even better.
Yeah. I know. Early access is coming somewhere down the line at some point to be able to get folks in and check out the game. What are some of the initial conversations around, how you're thinking about rolling that stuff out, or if those are things you can't talk about now, it's fine too. But are you kind of thinking rolling those things out in similar fashions to how you did GTFO or other layers in that way?
Not like GTFO. GTFO, we actually had quite a unique system with you played GTFO, right? The rundown system where we actually deleted the content when we added new. Yeah. But then we put all the content back in the end. So now it's a very, very big game actually with over 80 levels. But for Den of Wolves, it will expand with different districts of Midway City.
Yeah.
So at early access launch, it has the Promise district, which will. We don't. It's too early to say like how many prep missions and heists will be in it. But then the plan is to expand that with both free updates, but also pay DLC, because we kind of need to find a sustainable way of working with the game, because it's a game we want to be alive for like many years to come, so we can tell this story of Midway City. Yeah. So that's kind of our plan. Basically, we think as long as like a pay DLC has like enough good content in it, I think it's a very fair system, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's the plan right now, and we tend to say like there might be microtransactions in the game. It would be purely cosmetical, but we were actually not sure if we're gonna microtransaction. But feel like it's better to say it and then be like, we will not have it.
I mean, the good thing is that you've all been very, very good about setting expectations, and that's always great, right? For players to kind of know going in. And I think, you know, if you ever do some cosmetic DLC stuff, and you know, my Spawn on Me logo would be kind of Anyway,
it's awesome. We need it in the game. Yeah.
Before I let you both go, I know Simon, you are a big proponent of making music, and also as the music director for the studio. What are you listening to right now? What are some of the things you're kind of tracking in terms of your music taste?
I listen to a lot of bass music, some trap-inspired bass music, because I wanna have that sort of street, some hip hop influences, some trap influences. You know, in the soundtrack for Den of Wolves, it has a 808 bass. You know, like it's just something, just gets you going. You know. I want the soundtrack for the game to obviously, it's a power fantasy, so we want the players to feel badass, you know, and it's supposed to make you feel cool. So much like Payday, you know, it's that power fantasy music that is like, lots of attitude, you know. So that it has that, and I don't know if you heard when you completed the heist, you actually go into the successful screen. There's rap. Yeah. So you sort of seamlessly go into a rap version of the track that ended the heist. Which I think will sort of emphasize that feeling of elation or whatever, like at the end of the heist, like we made it, and then you're like, yo, look.
I mean, it comes through though. I mean, it comes through in the ramp up for when you're kind of ending out a mission and when things get real crazy and hectic. Like I was listening to it and paying attention to it because I was like, oh yeah, like that vibe is good,
and you feel unstoppable, and it's just, it has the right vibe, you know. So I'm looking for rappers to collaborate with, and I'm listening to a lot of not necessarily like trap music with actual rap on it, but bass music, like dance music, or danceable at least music, I guess, but with a like heavier, more sort of slower, deliberate tempo. Because a lot of the music I made for Payday was like 130 BPM, which is like house, like club music tempo. But for this, I'm going slower. And then what's nice about the flexibility is that you can go double time on that, and it becomes almost like drum and bassy. So you have the flexibility to hang back with the heavy stuff, and then you can sort of double the tempo. For certain parts of the mission where you're like, oh no, we got to escape or whatever, and then it turns into something more stressful. So
I got to steal you for some music nerd shit and talk about that, because I love conversations around that. And if you need some folks, I got some folks maybe to help you on that as well. In terms of, I know some people, I know some producers as well who can have some dope stuff. Gents, thank you so much for the time today. Again, like.
Thanks for having us.
No, thank you again. Like,
it's been fun.
Games like this, I feel, are really important to the space. I think I'm even more excited, even after a massive drone show in front of my window, and that trailer was a banger, and the music that came through on that as well, like, gave me even more excitement for where it is, and the gameplay is really holding up extremely well. Like. We were talking shit. We were having fun. We were scared and falling. I was dying a lot, which was awesome. And I love the dive pieces and what you talked about, because I think that will be a really interesting differentiator for this game in a way that will not only bring people back, but keep people guessing in a way that is difficult for games in the first-person shooter space. Like, I think a lot of folks, you kind of know what you get every time you kind of load up. And hearing that there's some elements that are going to be different in those ways really makes this an exciting project to hear more about. So we would love to have you back on later on when things are kind of more out in the world and released and talked about. Everybody at home, like, this is going to be a banger. I had a bunch of fun with it. So please, we'll figure out ways to get some links into the show so you can check out things and put the wish list up so you can check that out as well. And gents, thanks so much again for the time.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
For the kind words.
Everybody at home, I know you can't see me, but you can hear me. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. So how fun was that? That was a really dope conversation that we got a chance to have with the team. And again, I'm super excited for what they're doing, and knowing their pedigree, I know they were just going to kill it. And it feels like they're in a really good spot to bring a cool experience to all of us, not only with the gameplay that we know and love, but this new mechanic with the dive. And it sounds like they have a lot of tricks up their sleeve to be able to give us some really fun experiences. So again, thank you so much for watching. Please go check out all of our work on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other places that we reside. And we see you very, very soon on the next video. Much love. Wash your hands, wash your butt, and go give some people some love. And until then, peace.